Hey everyone, we saw you all joining and saying hello. It's great to have you all dialing in from all over, a very global audience today. We're dialing in and presenting from London, so great to have so many of you with us. Just before we jump into the content about our new box office design tool and how to make your events look amazing, just a bit of housekeeping. This will be recorded, so things come up in events all the time. If you have to run away from the screen, you can always come back. And we'll have a bit of time for questions at the end. So as we go through, if anything springs to mind, just type it in the comments as you're all doing anyway. And if we can't get to them, then we'll try and get back to you through your Ticket Tailor account via email later. Yeah, I think that's everything. And the full recording will be on our YouTube channel as well, along with all of our other webinars, if you ever want to check in on any of the other ones as well. I think that's all of the little bits. Oh, and I hope you can all hear us. Please let us know if you can't. But we've done a mic test, so we should be all right. Yeah, cool. Next thing will be intros. I'm Rhio, Head of Customer Experience. You may have seen me before, or we might have chatted through Ticket Tailor. It was supposed to be Olivia here today, Head of Marketing, but sadly she had something else come up and couldn't be here. I can't take credit for any of this though, it's all Olivia, and also the lovely Karishma, who I'll hand over to now and who's going to be doing the bulk of this amazing webinar.
Great, thanks so much for that, Rhio. Well, like Rhio just said, I'm Karishma, and as you can see from my job title, I'm really interested in two main things, which is brand and design. And that's why this is probably one of my favorite features on Ticket Tailor, and I was so excited when we were launching it, because this tool really allows you to put your brand forward with using design. So I'm so excited to walk you through it today, and I hope there's a lot of things that you can pick up from there. If you've already had a look at it and you were a bit confused or nervous about jumping in, hopefully by the end of this you're going to feel a lot more confident about it. So just getting into what we're going to go over today. Firstly, we're going to do a bit of an intro into the actual design tool. So just give you a sense of where you can access it, what the design tool actually is, and what you can make with it. And then I'll go more into the nitty-gritty of how it actually works. So I'll show you all the 8 lovely themes that we have to pick from, how that works across your listings and your event pages, and then all the customization options that you have within there. And then lastly is the fun part. We're going to design a whole page together. I'm going to show you how to prepare your assets, how you can apply your brand, and how we can add links and all sorts of things onto your page to make it as impactful as possible. And in the end, we'll go through some case studies and answer any questions that you guys have. So I think let's jump right into it. Firstly, an intro to the design tool. So this is where you can find it. It's quite easy. If you go to the top right-hand side of your dashboard, you'll see a settings button. So if you click on that, and then on the menu on the left side, you'll see box office design. And once you click on that, you're in and you're good to go. So the design tool itself is actually set up this way. So we've got on this side, the actual, moving ahead of myself. On this side, we've actually got a tool which helps you customize and change any settings you want. And then on the right side, you've actually got the live preview. So as you're making changes, you can see what's happening and what you want to fix in certain places. And then this is what you can actually create. So there's so many different options that you can go for and so many variations that you can create. The possibilities are truly endless. So I hope this makes you feel a little bit excited of what's to come and what you can make using this tool, right? So getting into how it works, there's a few different things that we have to look at. So firstly is the 8 themes that we have to pick from. And these themes are actually doing the bulk of the design work for you. This is what makes it so easy for you to actually make a beautiful page, because we've already got the theme set, and then you just have to go in and customize a few things, and then you can have your whole brand forward. So we've got 8 different themes to pick from. The base, simple, basic, and clean theme, they're sort of more our simpler designs, a bit more minimal. easier to work with. And then if you're feeling bold, or you have an event that's a lot louder and you really want to show that, go for one of the themes down here, the organic, bright, or vivid, or bold theme. I think that those just really help your event page pop. But we'll get more into what you can do to pick the right theme for you later on. So looking at how the themes actually work, there's what happens is, once you select your theme, it will run across your entire box office. So that means on your listings page, whatever settings you have, it will show up over there. And also the theme runs through onto your event page. So as you can see over here, this is an example of a listings page and an event page with a theme on it. And it means that your brand can come across no matter where your ticket buyers are actually clicking on within the system. They can actually see your brand throughout the process instead of just on one page alone. And then there's all the options for customizing. So you can use hex codes to update your background colors, your text colors, the button colors. And that means that whatever the theme is, you can make it your own. And that's the really exciting part. And then we also have a selection of fonts that you can pick from, and you can pick a different header and body font. So that just helps you really add your brand in a little bit more. And then the next thing is, we have options for you to really showcase your events through imagery. And you can do that using a nice header banner on your listings page, or the actual images within your event page itself. But what's so great about being able to use images is that you can show your ticket buyers exactly what your event is like and what it's about. And that really helps them buy into it and want them to join. So I hope that you have some amazing pictures to use. And even if you don't, I've got some tips and tricks for you so that you can still make it work without. And then lastly, we've got the header banner. And this is just basically more customization options. Over here, you'll be able to select from a full screen banner to something with a text overlay, or side by side if you have more square imagery. And this way you have whatever option you want. And this works with all the themes. So you have a lot of options to customize, and that's what we're going to get into now. Actually designing a box office. And what we're going to be designing is our little event here for our theater called the Tailor Theater. And before we actually jump into the tool, there's three main things that I would like you guys to prepare beforehand to just make this process as smooth and as quick as possible. So the first thing is just making sure that you have your logo ready to go. And with your logo, you really want to have whatever color variations you might have available at hand. And the best file to usually have is a PNG, because that has a transparent background and it will look nicer on your actual event page. So those are just some tips for uploading your logo, but that's what you want to keep. You want to just keep those files handy with you. And then secondly are your brand colors. You don't need too many of them. So even if it's just your primary palette, that's totally okay. For my brand colors here, it's quite a simple palette. We've got a black, a white, and a red over here. Now, if you don't have any brand colors at all, there is other options for you. So within the tool, you'll be able to drag around and pick some different colors if you're feeling brave. But if you'd like, you can also just try out a website like this, like colorhunts.co. And websites like that, they basically just have different palettes that you can pick from. And it's really easy to copy paste the hex codes in from there. So if you don't have any brand colors, have a look on there, see something that works for your event, and you can use that to actually build your event page. And then the last thing is just your imagery. So some of you might already have some professional event photos. That's perfect. You want to have a few variations of this. So for your listing page, we want to be able to show a variation if you have different types of events. So you want to show a little bit of each type of event, right? So people can see different things that you run. But then for your event pages, you want to have the more event specific ones. So just try and keep as many pictures as you can possibly with you. And also, if you don't have any photography, because we know that sometimes it can be quite expensive to get professional photography, see if you have any pictures from your phone. There might be something in your camera roll that could be gold to use for your event page. So just see what you might have around. And if you don't have anything like that, there are stock image options. So things that I personally like using are websites like Pexels or Unsplash. You get completely free image options over there. You can just type in whatever type of event you have and see if it pulls up anything. And then there's also a lot of great AI generator options. I'm sure Rhio, you probably have some examples of this. Like even if you just type a prompt in ChatGPT of what type of image you want, you can put that in there. Google Slides has also released an image generator, and if you type in, if you have a candle making workshop with people looking happy, it will put together some pretty decent images for you. So you can definitely use those. Now let's actually get into designing. So I'm going to open up Ticket Tailor over here, and like I said, the box office design tool is pretty easy to access. So you go to your settings up here, and then you go into box office design. So as you can see at the moment, I'm just on the legacy theme, right? Now, if you're an event creator that doesn't have any spare time to design at all, which we totally get, we know that you've got a lot of things when you're planning events. Honestly, you can even just switch to the base theme, and already you've got a page that looks a lot better designed than you had before. But obviously, we're here to take things a step further, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what theme you should actually pick. And this can vary depending on what you actually want your event page to do. So when I was working on a few different box offices for some of our event creators, I know that a few of you really want to be able to create more of a seamless experience when ticket buyers are on your website and they click buy tickets and then they go onto Ticket Tailor. You want it to not feel like they've jumped onto a completely different third-party site. So if you do want to create something like that, that's more streamlined for your users, then I have a little hack, a little designer hack for you. And I think what you should go for is look at the sort of buttons that you have on your website. And what I mean by that is, as you can see from here, right, there's some buttons that are more rectangular, like this one over here. And as you can see from this theme, there's some that are more rounded. So a little trick is to just have a look at which themes have a button that matches your website a little bit more, because that's going to be the little deciphering factor that makes it look like a completely streamlined experience. And I'll show you more examples of what I mean by that later. So getting into actually customizing. Now I'm creating a box office for my event, which is the Taylor Theatre. And I want it to feel quite grand, quite bold. And because my color palette is black, white, and red, I'm kind of leaning towards this theme over here, which already sort of uses a lot of those colors. That looks quite nice. But also I urge you to just like sort of click around and see what you might like. There's a lot of different options to play around with here. But I think I'm definitely going to go for the bold theme this time around. I'm quite happy with that. And now I'm going to get into how you can actually customize this. So as you can see, this is my listings page at the moment. And if I click on here, I'll be able to look at what an actual event page looks like. So that's already looking quite nice, but I think there's definitely more that we can do over there. So I'm just going to go back over here to box office and click on this little arrow down here. And what that opens up is all the different options to customize my colors and my header colors as well, and any fonts that I want. So the way this works is you can drag and drop and play around with any colors if you don't have a brand color palette, for example. But because I do have some colors, I'm going to actually just write them in there. So I quite like the black background already. I think I'm going to stick to that. But then for my actual ticket button, I really want to use the color that's the red color that I had, and I think it will help my imagery pop quite nicely. So I'm going to type that in. That's C9C1. Oops, C9C16. There we go. Oops. And C1. See, there we go. Was missing a number there. Now, as you can see at the moment, that's giving me a little warning over here. So what that warning is telling me is that the text color that I have with this button doesn't match accessibility settings. So that means that the contrast of the color is a bit too low. What I mean by that is high contrast, if the highest contrast, for example, is white and black. Lower contrast would be something like black with a dark gray. So that's too low. So I'm going to try out having just white as my ticket text color. And that is not showing that warning anymore. So that works perfectly. And then I think I want my text on my page to also just stick to white. So I'm going to put that in there as well. And then I have these options over here. So as you can see on some of the themes, we have these borders depending on what type of listing you pick. And if you don't like those, you can just choose to hide them. But if you do like those, you can actually also pick a color for them. So if I wanted to, for example, put my red in there, I could have that like that. And then that makes that pop quite nicely. Or if I just want to stick to whites, I can have that in there. And that'll show up as white and stay that way. And then there's the option for header styles. And so this would change the background of the top section over here. And also within your event pages, it will be more split between the header and the rest of the event description. So again, over here, you can play around with what sort of colors you like. If you wanted to, make that more red. I still quite like the black, so I think I'm going to stick with that for now. And I want my text to be white so that people can see it nice and clearly. But I still like these red buttons, so I'm going to put that in here and then make sure people can read the text nicely and keep the text white. So I'm quite happy with those color settings so far. I'm going to have a look at what that looks like on my actual event page. So as you can see, those red buttons pop quite nicely now. I like having those borders around there that are white. So that comes in quite nicely. I'm happy with that. And now I actually want to look at the fonts that I've got going on. So what you can do is actually just play around. If there's any font that looks similar to your brand font, for example, go ahead and put that in. I want something that's quite clean and sophisticated. So I'm going to look around at some of these options over here. Yeah, I think maybe something like that. Let's try a few more. Or maybe something like that. That's quite nice. So yeah, definitely feel free to just play around and look at different things. And then I want more of a serif font for my description. So maybe something like Times New Roman. Yeah, I'm going to leave that for now. And I can always come back and change it later if I don't like anything. And now actually getting your brand in there, so right? So we want to have our logo on our page so that people know exactly where they are. So if you go to upload custom logo over here, and then the reason I said to have a few color variations for your logo is because if you do have a black background, you obviously don't want to put a darker logo on top of that. You want to put something that people can see. So because I have a black background, I definitely want to drop in my white logo. And so that should upload quite quickly. There we go. Nice. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so that's looking good so far. Obviously, this isn't the right image for my event, right? So I want to be able to change that. So to do that, you just go onto this listings page tab. And so this is just a more focused space for you to update all the things that live on your actual listings page. So to begin with, if you don't have any images at all, and you don't really want to spend time putting images over here, you can just click on that and that will disable that banner. So it will just go straight into your listing straight away. But I do want to have some pictures in, so I'm going to have that enabled for the moment. And I also want to test around some of the different sizes that they have for the pictures. So this one will put the text over the image. This one has it on the bottom. Then we've got a nice full screen option over here, which I do quite like that one. You got some side-by-side options over there, or if you wanted to switch that around. Also, if you don't want an image, but you do want a header over there, you got a text-only option. So I quite like this full screen. I think I'm going to go for that. And now when it comes to actually uploading the images, so I don't want this picture right here, but I do want some pictures of our theater. So you just go to choose images, and then you can drag in as many pictures as you like. If you want to put in just one, that's completely fine. If you do want to put in multiple, what's nice is that that actually creates a carousel for you. So I've put in multiple over here, and I quite like those. So, and I want to just change around the options a little bit. So maybe I wanted to start with that picture, then go on to the seats. And then to do that, you just drag and drop the pictures in the order that you want them to be shown. And then I want this carousel to autoplay. So I don't want people to have to click through the different pictures. Instead, I just want it to autoplay. And so I just click on that little button and that should sort that out. And then coming down here on your listings page, you have the option of how you want to display the actual listings. So if you got quite a few events and you just want them in a list like this, then you can have it that way. Or if you want it as a grid view, you can put it in that way so people can see the event cover quite nicely. If you got several events, you might even want it as a 4-grid column. So there's a few different options that you can pick from over there. I think because I've just got 2 events, I quite like this one. I'm going to stick with that over there. Now, our event page is really coming together. So we just check a few things here. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Now I'm going to put in a header and description. So if you've got one that you've already sort of got written out for your brand, you can put that in. I just want mine to say something quite simple like, welcome to the Tailor Theatre. Nice. And on my description, I'm going to have something like where stories come alive. And another little hack for you, if you don't know what to put as a description, or you want a description but you can't really think of one, just go into ChatGPT, tell it what sort of a little prompt about what kind of event that you run, and ask it to give you a tagline with a short description, and you'll have a few options to go, and you can pick which one you like and just copy it into here. So there's a few different, so like I said, there's a few different ways that you could do that. Quite happy with that. So I'm going to go back over here. And now I'm just going to see again what the event page looks like. So that's all looking good with the different fonts over here. Happy with that. And I'm happy with that logo as well. So like I said, there's a lot more than just the design part that you can do with this tool. You can actually also show various links within your box office. So if you have a store, for instance, if for my theater, I was selling some sort of merch after a show, then I can include my store link over here. And also if I wanted this to say something else like, our store, then I can change that so that it's updated. You also have the option to include a contact link. So, and again, if you wanted to say something custom, like say hello instead, you could change it to that. And then if you don't have a store or a contact link, but you do say we have a link to your website or something else that you want to share, you do have the option to include a custom link. So the way that works is I could have my website over here, and then I would just put in my URL. So if it was www.tailortheater.com, then I can put that in and it's all good to go. Ooh, I'm just gonna try and get my light back on over here. There we go. Right. And then there's more options as well. So we've also included the option for you to add your social media links. So if you have any Facebook pages, Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, you can just drop your links in here, and then that way you can actually let me see if I can get a link in here. Facebook.com/Tailor Theater. And as you can see, the Facebook link then comes up. Likewise for the X or the Instagram link. Of course, I don't actually have those, but when you do, you won't be getting all these errors over here. Right. So I'm quite happy with how my page is looking so far. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and hit publish changes. This is really important because you don't want to lose all your work that you've just put in. So definitely hit publish, and that will now work. I'm just getting this error because of this link, so I'm just going to turn that off and include it like that. Nice. So another thing I really want to show you is with your event pages. If you want to update the images that you have, you still now have to go to your event form to change those. So the listings page image, you can do that within the box office designer, but any pictures that are event specific, those will be edited within the event form. So this is the event that I want to look at. I'll just go over here to edit event and tickets. And then this is where you can see that I've added in my photos over here. But then you also have the option down here to put in your event page image and a header image. And I'll show you just a second how these work. So firstly, if you didn't have any pictures at all and you don't have time to look for any pictures, we have updated our library over here. So if I didn't have any photos, I could maybe just select this one because it does work for a theater. And then that one would work on the event instead. Of course, it's always nicer to have your own imagery, but we've just put that option in because we know that sometimes you don't have the time to find images or take images. So you can always pick something from here if you don't have those options. And then, of course, just remember to hit save event. And so I'll quickly show you what this box office actually looks like now once it's all together. So go back over here. Something didn't save. Oh, well. I think it was because my URL was wrong, so that didn't save. But I am going to quickly fix this.
I think this is a good opportunity for Karishma fix. Obviously, we've spent, 20 minutes going through, really thinking about everything. But if you've already got a strong brand or a couple of colors and you just want an event to get done quickly and look really great, you can just go in, pop in your colors into the preset pages and click to do it in 5 minutes. So kind of the event pages are really malleable in this way. Like, we designed them to look good straight out of the box. So if you don't have much time and you're a one person, you know, event organizer, which I know a lot of people are, or like a hobby event organizer, you can just pop a few pictures from your last event, do some colors, and ready to go, and it will look hopefully almost as good as a web page or a website that you spent thousands of pounds on. Or if you've got a brand that's got distinct design rules, like we did spend quite a long time on some of our Ticket Tailor box offices, making sure everything was right and as we liked it. So it's kind of very open to what you can do there. But yeah, Karishma's very well, easily demonstrating now how quickly you can actually put together something amazing.
Yeah, when things don't go wrong, it all works fine. So this time I'll hit publish without there actually being any links that aren't real links. And I'll quickly go back to fixing my actual full-size image. So I want the full screen version. And I'll quickly write here, welcome to Tailor Theatre. And I had my little tagline over there. I'll put that there. All right. Now I have a box office. So this is the completed box office. And like I said, if you wanted that carousel, you can have the autoplay images. So let me quickly go back and actually enable that. So now we have all the images that play down here. As you can see, they just go through them by themselves. If you had all your social links, they would be up here. And then all the store links or your website links, they would be there as well. And then this is where your events are. So when people actually click on that, now you have these event pages that are fully to your brand and just as you'd want them. And, you know, you spend all this time, you know, customizing your event page. There is also, of course, in Ticket Tailor, the option to add a custom domain or anything like that. I think, Rhio, you can probably explain a bit more about that.
Yeah, so a custom domain is obviously, if you've already got an existing website, you probably don't want to get rid of that because I imagine you spent a lot of time on it. So you can add a custom domain to your Ticket Tailor box office. When you get going, you'll automatically get a buytickets.at/ and then it'll be your event name. But by putting your custom domain in there, it will be your company's website or your brand's website / and then your event page. So it's a really nice way to have that continuity. And obviously you saw the custom links demonstrated earlier. Obviously that was what broke our demonstration. But if you've got you can add a custom link back to your website. So instead of sort of paying a designer or spending ages with HTML, a quick way to sort of set up your event and add it to an existing website is just to paste that URL on your custom domain into your website and link back with a custom link to your homepage. So they kind of click on the tickets, go through Ticket Tailor. When they've finished, you can either redirect them from the checkout back to your website, or they can just click home on your box office page, and it will look really seamless and integrated with no code, basically. Very quick, very easy, and hopefully fitting into your busy schedules. So yeah, there's more information about that in the help center or with customer support, because setting up custom domains can be a little complicated, but really great feature for that continuity, and also for marketing tracking if you're into that as well.
Yeah. So I now have a few case studies that I can quickly talk you through. And this is basically just the box office design tool in action, and how it works. So this is one of our event creators called Ellie, and she runs her own networking events or any sort of nature related events. That's what she does. And so as you can see, before, she used to have the legacy theme set up, and it was quite simple. She did a little bit of tweaking where she had her brand color on the button, but it looks quite simple using our old look, right? And one of the things that she wanted herself was to make sure that it was a streamlined process for her audience, that if they were clicking off from her website, it didn't feel like they were going to a different site. So looking at her design, this is actually her website to begin with. And this is kind of what I was talking about with the buttons. So while I was looking at this design, I was actually paying attention to what sort of buttons she has, the colors that she uses on them as well. And so then once you do go to book now, this is her website. And as you can see, it feels a lot more streamlined to what she had. And this is her box office design. And so it feels a lot more streamlined to her actual website. Those buttons look a lot more similar, and her brand is fully showing through within each of the different events over here. And what's so nice is that even though the box office theme runs across, all your different event pages, you can still create differentiation with them just with the images that you choose for your event pages. So here's an example of her actual event page. And once you go into it now, you'll see that, it's a lot more nicely branded. She's got her images in there, and it actually shows people, like I said, with the photos, it shows people what your event is like. So if they haven't been at any point, it gives them a sense, and it makes them feel like, oh, that's actually something I want to go to. So I thought that this was a nice example to share. And going back, I want to share a different one with you now. So this is Malu Brunch. They run a lot of different parties for specifically a South Asian community, South Indian community. And this event was completely being run by you just one event creator who just didn't have the time. So he was one of the lucky winners of our box office design competition. And because he doesn't actually have a website, what we realized is that we could actually use his box office design page as a website. So this is how the old page looked with just the legacy theme. And this, if I can find the right tab, there we go. This is now what his page looks like. So as you can see, he's added in a custom link here with Discover More, and he's actually just linked that to his link tree. So this is what people usually use on Instagram, but now it's able to connect people to all the different parts that he's working on, whether it's on WhatsApp or his Spotify playlist. It's able to connect his community with everything else. I'm not even sharing that. So this is what the link tree looks like then. But this is his box office now. So he's got a nice header and description over there, and he's also gone for the full bleed. And this is what the listings looks like over here. So this is what I said, where you can actually create a lot of differentiation with your actual events just through the imagery alone. And so his event pages now look like this. And this is someone who didn't even have a brand himself. And just using the colors that are within the logo that he had, we're able to put together an entire design. So don't be afraid if you don't have those elements, because you can always make it work with just the little bits that you do have. I'm going to show you one last case study over here. So this is for Ashgate Hospice. This was another one where they really wanted to, streamline that experience between their websites. And so again, this was just the old look on Legacy, and their new box office now looks like this. And if you go to their website, it's a lot more streamlined now. I've gone ahead and used similar colors to what they have on their website, so it feels more streamlined. And their event pages just look a lot cleaner now. And lastly, I just want to share a few examples from our event creators. So these are just some designs that I really loved and I thought were great. This is the Better Business Network using the clean theme. This is such a great example of just being able to select a theme, tweak one color here, and make it work for your brand. So they just had the clean theme on. For the buttons, they made them their brand purple, and that's it. A very simple switch and already set, and their page looks amazing now. This is Nico's Trattoria, and they do pasta workshops. And so they used our organic theme to sort of lean into that rustic feel of making your own pasta. And it works so nicely. They have these really fun colors that they've brought into their page. And it just feels a lot more exciting than the old legacy theme that we had. And then here's an example from the Experimental Photo Festival. And they haven't even used any header imagery. They've just gone straight into the listings alone. And this is the grid view that from the different views that I was showing you. And you can see how just having the different listings with all the different images, it already makes the page feel so exciting. Like they have so much going on. And so these are just some examples I thought were great. And I hope that they've given you some inspiration as well on how you can set up your page really quickly. And I think that's just about everything. So we've got now hopefully just enough time to go over everyone's questions.
Yeah, thank you, Karishma. That was a great overview. And we've had some awesome questions coming in along the way. I think I want to start with this one because a couple of people asked it. So Rachel and Valentina both asked if there are any templates suitable for training courses rather than social events. I think a lot of the examples are more leaning towards entertainment and arts, but what would you suggest for training courses?
Nice. Right. So we're talking about for the different themes that we have. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely themes that would work quite nicely for training courses. If you want to make just a very quick switch, I would say go for the base theme if you don't have time to, change colors and things. But if you do have a bit more time, things like the simple theme, I can actually pull up an example right now. So this isn't for a training course, but it is something we put together for an event that is for a conference, and maybe the field is a little more similar. So this is what it looks like, and this is just using the simple theme, and you can use that and use the imagery to really show the if it's a training course, who's involved. Is it an online one? If you have certain speakers, you want to put some pictures in there within the event description, and then that just really helps it pop. So yeah, I would say if you want to do one for the training course, go for something like the simple theme or the base theme, and see which works best with your colors.
Awesome, totally agree with that. Definitely the simple ones of the conference have been designed with sort of conferences and training in mind. We had another question about accessibility. This one's from Rachel, and we had a lot of love on the accessibility checker with the colours, and this asked, do we have an option not to use capital letters in the themes for accessibility? The answer is yes. Obviously, all of the content you put into Ticket Tailor is your own content, so in your description, try and make that as readable as possible. All of the initial templates, if you just click on one of the themes without changing any of the colours, they've all been checked for accessibility. So even the ones where there are capitals for stylistic reasons, they have all passed the Web Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, I think they're called. So they should all be accessible without changing everything. We've put in that colour suggester for accessibility so that your events are accessible to as many people as possible. And when you're uploading pictures in your event pages, you'll have the option to write alt text as well. So yeah, we'll provide as many accessibility options as we can, and your event pages should be accessible because obviously everyone that wants to buy a ticket should be able to. So yeah, thank you for your question, and thank you for all the love for accessibility in the comments as well. I'm glad that that's at the forefront of everyone's mind. Just having a quick look through the other questions because we have some more. We've had a couple of questions about saving or updating the themes. I think Priscilla, asked a question, is it possible to save instead of publishing? So at the moment, no. So I would recommend taking time aside to redesign your page. Obviously you can have a look, maybe get a bit of an idea of what you might like, just exit it, don't save it, and then you can come back and do it later. And
yeah, I mean, I think a little nifty trick when I've been, working on some box office designs is that if you do put something in and you're like, okay, I kind of like this, but it's not quite right, I just take a quick screenshot of what the settings I used are, because then, as you saw, when those settings didn't save, it was super quick to just go back in and type everything and set it back up. So if you do want to save it, just take a quick screenshot of the actual settings that you've used, and then you can refer to those later on, and you can start back off from there.
Great tip. And Lisa, you asked, does changing any of the styling change any of the existing links? You might already have QR codes on posters, links on social media, all those campaigns running. Absolutely not. The link will stay the same, so you can go ahead and update all of your event page and box office branding, and that will all still work fine. It will still be the same URL. It's just the design changing. So yeah, that hopefully isn't stopping anybody getting started. I'm just going to take a quick look to see if we've had more questions come through that I've missed.
Yeah, we had a quick one over here about uploading videos on the listing carousel. You can't do that just yet, but I believe we can, like if you do want to put a video within the event page, you can embed one over there. Unfortunately, even though it would be nice to have videos on the carousel, that isn't the option here. But I think, even if you do have some strong images and you have them as an autoplay carousel, it still does create something quite strong.
And Lorna, you've asked, this is quite a specific question, so if I'm not answering it correctly, please do drop a message to customer support. But you've asked about having a box office that's based on your parent company brand, and then each event having its own brand. I think absolutely you can do this in the box office. What I'd recommend probably is going for quite a basic box office theme, maybe the base one, and having your logo for the parent company in the top. And then on the event pages themselves, you've obviously got the options to add different imagery. I think like the case study Karishma shared, each event image was really sort of branded itself. So you could do that to make your event descriptions, your event pictures really distinct. That's what I'd do. Karishma, I don't know if you have any other suggestions as you're the designer.
Yeah, no, that was spot on. I think that's exactly what I would do as well. Just lean into the imagery over there, and definitely pick something more simple as the parent, like as the general theme. But yeah, you can definitely do a lot with the images, and so don't be afraid to use that to your advantage.
Cool. And I think just one final question from Owen. If you have any more, drop us a message at customer support or drop them in the chat. We'll probably have time for one more after this. But Owen asked if we can host a webinar on Ticket Tailor like you can on Teams. I mean, of course, this webinar was hosted on Ticket Tailor. You can pop in any link to any streaming platform that you're using into a Ticket Tailor page. And obviously the event pages are so malleable, so customizable, that really there should be something for every type of event. So definitely online events should be easy to style and run through Tailor as well. Cool. And yeah, thank you so much for everybody being live with us today. And for anyone that's watched the recording, we really appreciate it. I'm glad a lot of you in the comments have been saying that it was a helpful webinar, and I'm hoping you've all got some great inspiration to zhuzh up your own box offices and make them really pop and sell your events in the best way.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And so many of you signed up for this, so we really appreciate you taking the time to actually join us live.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.